Hello, friends. Welcome to Spike Week. I'm Erik Beimfohr, and on today's show, it's Friday, so we're digging into everything from across the NFL training camp news for our fantasy football drafts. What's up with this Rashee Rice disciplinary hearing on September 30th? Is Quinshon Judkins in the clear? Jordan Addison did get his suspension, and Matthew Stafford's back continues to be a problem. That plus everything for all 32 teams over the course of the last week. What do we need to evaluate for our fantasy drafts? And then maybe, we'll rip a draft. Plus, give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event. Let's do it. Hello, good morning to everyone. Marie, Charles, can't wait for Judkins to have a Benson Corum Wright rookie season. Let's go. That's funny. GM to FT. Welcome, FT. Peppertoni with the, as always, fan spruce. We'll get into Rashee. I promise. I didn't really know what to put for Rashee on the thumbnail. We just lumped him in with a maybe this is good. I'm Ron Burgundy. I'm not entirely sure. But of course, welcome to Spike Week. Some super quick housekeeping before we dive in. If this is your first time joining us for a show or watching afterwards, we're live I'm live myself, me, Erik Beimfohr, live every Tuesday through Friday. Now, Tuesdays, we will recap the preseason. Fridays, we'll recap everything from training camp. And of course, we draft pretty much every day, but Wednesdays and Thursdays, we'll be drafting a whole bunch of fantasy football teams leading in to the 2025 season. My buddy Rob is live on Sundays. We are live on Monday nights, myself and Rob in the Best Ball Basement. We got Legendary Sickos coming tomorrow. We got some 555 slow draft stuff that I still need to post this afternoon. Tons and never-ending amount of fantasy football and best ball content heading into the season. So if you could, on your way in, hit the like button and hit subscribe so you can be notified of all of this content, that would be phenomenal. But let's go ahead and dive in first to the news. Of course, we'll give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event at the very end of the show. You do not have to be here, but I took the list from all the commenters. And if you're commenting now, apologies. That one will not get included. But we have a whole bunch of comments from all you guys. I appreciate all of you spending the time dropping a comment. If you could drop a comment that's like relevant to the video. Yes, I'm looking at you, Peppertoni. That isn't hey, I'm entering into the contest. That would be even better. Maybe we'll make a rule for next week. It's great. Bruce, of course, did not forget his name, but I don't believe has not won yet. We've been doing this for a few weeks. We will continue every single Friday giving away free tickets to the Drafters main event. 3 free tickets every Friday. All you have to do is drop a comment on one of our videos. I grab your name, put it on the wheel. We spin the wheel at the end of the episode and give away 3 free tickets. Shots fired. GM Benny, GM Bruce, good morning, Best Ball. It's a wonderful Friday. It is particularly a wonderful Friday if you have been probably a wonderful Friday if you have been. I know I have Rashee Rice at the top of the list here, but let's talk about Quinshon Judkins super quickly because the Rashee thing is very bizarre. Quinshon Judkins, notably yesterday, the prosecutors declined to move forward, right? So the real life prosecutors, not NFL stuff, declined to move forward with the case against Quinshon Judkins. I really don't want to get into a legal debate over these kinds of things. Hitting women is bad. You're a scumbag if you do it, and you deserve anything that comes to you. And just because prosecutors do not move forward with a case does not mean that something didn't happen. It also doesn't mean that something did. And that's the point. We have no idea. We will see what comes from the NFL perspective. But from a legal perspective, it's all over because they're not going to prosecute Quinshon Judkins. However, from our perspective, the things that we need to consider are that we still really don't know that the story has not wrapped. Right? We haven't got to that's all, folks, at the end of the Quinshon Judkins story. First of all, he's still not signed by the Cleveland Browns. I do suspect that will happen probably pretty quickly, but you also have to think from Judkins' perspective, his agent is going to the Browns, and he's saying, well, it's all good, right? There's nothing that you need to consider, right? Just give him the normal second round contract that you would give anybody else, because nothing happened. And from the Browns' perspective, they're like, well, there's probably a little bit more risk to this fella than there is to the average second rounder. So they probably want to put in some, protections and some insurance clauses and different things into a contract of someone who, before he even came to the team, was accused of a serious crime. So I imagine there'll be a little bit of back and forth, though. He might sign today for all I know, but he has not signed yet, which means he's not practicing yet with the Browns. He has yet to practice, right? We are about to start tonight starts week 2 of the preseason as of this recording on Friday. What is today? August 15th. NFL preseason week 2 kicks off tonight. Mind you, there's only 3 weeks of the NFL preseason, and then the preseason, the regular season starts on September 4th. We're very close to that season, to the regular season. He hasn't taken a snap at practice with the Cleveland Browns, and so I still have some very real concerns about what this means for Quinshon Judkins as a rookie, notably because Dylan Sampson has been at camp. They know what they have in Jerome Ford, as in terms of a reliable veteran back in their backfield. And Dylan Sampson has every day sort of taken a step forward, seemingly. We'll get to him down the road here a little bit when we get to the Cleveland Browns section. But it's also important to note that a suspension is not 100% off the table for Quinshon Judkins. I'm not saying he should be suspended. I'm not saying this is not there's no opinion from me coming in here. It is just, what does the NFL do with the information that they have? They can't, right? You don't have to go to jail, or you don't have to be charged with you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a legal crime for them to suspend you. If you bet on sports, you get suspended. If you smoke weed, you get suspended, right? Like, those kinds of things are not necessarily crimes in the real world, and people get suspended for a long time for those types of situations. And so, I would, if I was a betting man, now this is my opinion, if I was a betting man and you said what happens with the Quinshon Judkins thing, I think he signs pretty quick. He gets back in practice and he does not get suspended. But that they're, on a probability scale, none of these things are 0%. So I'm mostly concerned, which we'll talk about when we get to Dylan Sampson and the Cleveland Browns. I'm mostly concerned with the fact that he's a rookie who hasn't been at practice, and has a fellow rookie who I think is, quite frankly, just as good, if not better, than he is. I understand the draft capital difference between Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins, but I think this is still a pretty big uphill battle. He isn't just like fighting a Jerome Ford or the corpse of Zeke, this isn't a Cowboys backfield situation. He's fighting another rookie who was drafted in the 4th round, who was the SEC Player of the Year last year. Dylan Sampson was the Offensive Player of the Year in the SEC last year. This isn't a slouch. And so he has a little bit more of an uphill climb than I think. Maybe it's not just like, oh, all good, right? Cool. No problems. Let's see. Before we move on, a lot of comments. I want to make sure that I hit everybody, because it's a wonderful Friday and everybody deserves a shout out. That's hilarious. Rick has his first redraft today, and the rankings are hilarious. Yeah. I saw, where was I? I think it was on ESPN or on NFL Network or something. Was on in the background somewhere, and they were talking about fantasy football, and they had Marvin Harrison ranked 65th overall or something like that. And I was like, whoa, geez, I don't even love Marv, but the redraft rankings, I was like, holy shit, they are playing a very different game than we are playing in their home leagues. And it's a wonder that I can't win my home league. Let's see. Please help me cope with my 2% Judkins. There you go, Mac. I'm not that worried about it. Thank you to Mac and Jack. Mac and Jacks. Who doesn't love Mac and Jacks? Jack, love these streams. Appreciate you. They'll just copy paste. They'll just copy paste the Isaiah Bond contract and add a 0. Yeah, Isaiah Bond is on the list down here somewhere as well. Sizzle says he's been following the Browns, or I've been fading the Browns. Sorry, big difference between following and fading. I've been fading the Browns as a whole, and I have also drafted some Sampson and Ford together. I don't think it's over. I don't sweat it just yet. My man AO says Judkins and Rashee should just wrestle, and the loser actually gets suspended. I think I support that. And we'll get to Addison. Let's do the Rashee Rice situation super quickly, because I'll be honest, this is the one that definitely is the most, I feel like there's a most likely scenario that plays out here, but also every single thing I've thought about the Rashee Rice situation from the moment that it happened, it hasn't gone that way. So my opinion clearly means absolutely nothing on what's most likely to happen from Rashee Rice. Of course, catching us up here, he pled guilty or pled no contest or whatever they call it in the legal world a while back. And it has, if you read some of the like air quotes legal expert stuff on Twitter or on different websites and stuff, they've also found it weird that the disciplinary hearing from the NFL. So this isn't a legal thing. He already pled guilty, right? Got his sentencing and all that kind of stuff from his from the courts. But the NFL has set his disciplinary hearing to decide what happens to him, right? Does he get suspended? Does he not? How long is the suspension, et cetera, for September 30th, which seems strange. And it seems strange to me. And it apparently is strange to also people who are more informed than I am. For reference, that is the Tuesday of week 5 for Rashee Rice to have his disciplinary hearing. So one would think that means that in weeks 1 through 4, he's playing. And then in week 5, we decide what happens thereafter. The report from Schefter, which of course, has to be taken with a grain of salt, can always have a little bit of a mouthpiece from the agents type situation, is that he's likely to play for the first 4 weeks, because then obviously he's having his hearing in week 5. Most legal experts, again, do still expect somewhere between 4 and 6 games from a suspension. We're all, I shouldn't lump myself in with those guys, but like everyone is all confused about, so then does that mean the suspension will start in week 5? So does he miss 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? Are those the 4 weeks that he misses? Is he going to, can he, or does he appeal that suspension and then push it off? And now we really don't know when it's going to happen. Will it happen? Right? Does he appeal the suspension once in week 5 and then it like goes into 2026? There's still a lot of unknowns with the Rashee Rice situation, and I feel like we're probably just ultimately not going to know until it's too late for us in our drafts. So I snap bought a couple, you're on the clock in slow drafts. I'm in hundreds of slow drafts at the time, and you're on the clock, and I snap called a little bit of Rashee in the 6th round. Was that right? I truly don't know if this is worse or better for him or the same. I think it kind of sucks if he does get, if we're drafting him, if he's suspended, weeks 5 through 8, I think that's far worse for us, because we've talked about this a little bit. We talked about it yesterday on the eliminator and cumulative scoring strategy show, where the best time to have your guys miss is the first few weeks of the season, because the rest of your guys are healthy generally, right? Unless you draft Addison and Rashee and Godwin and whatever, Mooney, whatever. If you draft all of those guys together, it's a different story. But generally speaking, right, if you draft Rashee Rice, you can cover for him for the first month of the season. It's best ball. I got 8 wide receivers or whatever on my team. I got 7 other guys. None of my other guys are on bye, right? Buys don't start during the time that Addison, that we'll talk about, is suspended. So I kind of think it matters. We should move him down a little bit in the rankings, but I kind of think it's overrated missing those. Now, if you're missing it from an injury, that's a little bit, versus a suspension can be a little bit different, because injuries can linger, injuries can get re-aggravated and all that kind of stuff. But I do think it just muddies up the Rashee. This could straight up end up being the best thing that happened for Rashee's fantasy value, or it could truly be the worst, where is he going to miss the fantasy playoffs now? Do we really want to draft a guy? Would you draft someone in the 50s? Let's just say in the 50s, right? So in the 5th round or whatever, would you draft someone in the 50s you knew guaranteed was not going to play in the fantasy playoffs? I don't think I would. Even as good as Rashee Rice is, as good as the Chiefs are. And so we just don't have a lot of information about Rashee. I mean, we have a lot of information. We don't know what the hell is going to come of it from Rashee Rice. So we'll continue to monitor that, of course. Jordan Addison, a lot quicker, got his 3-game suspension. He will be out for the first 3 weeks. He has been supposedly quite good in training camp. That I thought looked pretty good in the preseason game, and he's a target to me. If you liked Addison before, he's fallen again. He fell from the start of the summer. He's fallen again when the suspension came down, even though we all knew, everyone knew he was getting suspended. It should have been baked into the price. Maybe someone would say it wasn't. I would say that it was. And so now we can get him at a better price. And again, in those 3 weeks that he's suspended, we have the rest of our receiving room. No one's on bye. They're all healthy. We can cover for him for 3 weeks. So I think it makes these kinds of players a target in your redraft league, right? Your obviously your best ball teams, certainly when you have 20 rounds in DraftKings or Drafters or whatever. I think it actually makes these guys targets. Jamie got him at pick 94 yesterday. I mean, I think that's a steal. You're getting let's call him a 6th round player. We're getting a 6th round player in the 90s. And like, do I even lose any points? Like, how many points do I lose by not having him for a few weeks? Very few. Obviously he's then going to have the week 6 bye as well. So like, like an eliminator or something like that, it's a little bit different. But if he's peaking at the end of the season and he's providing big games, I think these kind of guys are targets. Quick reminder as you guys roll in, I do very much enjoy doing these shows, but if you can hit the like button, it would be extra special to keep these training camp videos rolling. It's a lot of work to monitor all of this different stuff, and a quick little like would be much appreciated while we segue into training camp news. A deep threat says we also had Rashee's suspension baked in, and look what happened. And I still don't know what happened. Like, what has happened? What is happening with Rashee Rice? Does anyone know? Does he? Like, what a shit show, man. Absolutely. Just a total disaster. Quickly on Addison. Are Addison and Jefferson QB proof, meaning they will still be able to produce with a subpar quarterback? I tend to think so. The thing I always like to cite, and I feel like I've said it too much now and maybe even latched onto it a little bit too much now, but you recall when Cousins missed time years ago? Obviously Kirk Cousins now on the Atlanta Falcons. They had Nick Mullins came in for 2 games, started 2 games, and led the NFL in passing yards over those 2 games. Now he led the NFL in interceptions as well over those 2 games, but the passing production for the likes of JJ and Addison and such has really been fine. Remember Josh Dobbs like revitalized his career and stuff. Like KOC is just a wizard, and I trust in him. It is Sam Darnold behind JJ McCarthy, which has me a little bit more concerned. But I think if anybody can make chicken salad out of what, I think it's KOC. So I don't worry about it too much. All right, let's get to the training camp stuff. 18 minutes, and we haven't even got to. I have all the teams here. Not every single team had something noteworthy. Arizona Cardinals, boring as shit. Nothing's happening. We talked about the Zay Jones, Michael Wilson stuff. Trey Benson's getting hype. Nothing like super duper notable from a training camp perspective for the Arizona Cardinals. In Atlanta, Darnell Mooney, it's starting to become a little bit more worrisome. On the aren't you worried scale, we went from a 5 to a 6 or something, or a 7 on Darnell Mooney. For me, he is still being labeled as week to week, and the quote from Raheem Morris, which was, I think, opened some eyes. It's always hard to understand when these coaches say some of these things. Are we like reading too much into it? Because it's just an interview, right? They have to do an interview after every practice or so. Not everyone, but they have to do a certain amount of interviews. They ask a question, and it's just like me talking here. You're just like, whatever comes off the top of your head. You don't always choose your words exactly how you would choose them if you could sit back and think about it again. So did he choose those words specifically because it is a little more concerning, or did he just kind of say something off the cuff and it's really not as big of a deal as it may seem for us? But it was concerning. Morris says, I feel good about getting him back healthy and ready to go. When? I don't know, but we'll have him back healthy and ready to go this year. So everything else was fine until the final 2 words. It was I'm not going to lie, you had me in the first half type of a situation. And then we got to the 4th quarter of the comment, and I said, oh no, this year, that doesn't seem great. But again, like, does that mean, like, did he mean like to start the year? Did he mean like, I don't know, the Ayuk quote, like week 10? Who knows? Hopefully they ask for a little bit more information. But what I did write down is I think it's probably just Drake London season. If you go, I think I mentioned this before. Maybe I don't know if I mentioned it on a show or not, but I mentioned it a few times in some different conversations. If you follow the Falcons beat writers, which of course I get all this from 32 beat writers, basically all of my information, 32 beat writers, Coach Speak Index. It's all you need. Don't go scrolling Twitter. Don't go searching people out on Twitter. Don't go doing any of that stuff. You don't need to do it. Of course, the 32 beat writer stuff kind of works in concert with the Athletic if you want to read Athletic articles. But the Falcons beats, every day, there's one fella, I forget what his name is, that he tracks every pass thrown by Michael Penix and who's targeted on the pass. It's, every day he shares the target share percentage of Drake London on Michael Penix passes and team activities. And it's hilarious. It's like, well, today Drake London had a 45% target share from Michael Penix. The next day, well, today it was a 38% target share, including 6 downfield shots and 4 touchdowns or whatever, right? It's like every day is just like Drake London had 40% of targets. Drake London is uncoverable. Oh, another Drake London touchdown. It's like that early Kyle Pitts, his golfing buddies with Michael Penix news has mostly gone away. And it's just like Drake London, Drake London, Drake London, Drake London. And so I liked Drake London before. He's actually become a pretty big priority for me. I think he's an awesome, if you have eliminator slows still going on, I just think he's an all around great click. I called him the other night, I believe in our lab, like the queen on the chessboard for our draft purposes, because you can move him anywhere. You can't get him necessarily with Jamar Chase or, like the 102, 103, but you can kind of get him with Jahmyr Gibbs. You can pull him up to the first round and take him with Brock Bowers, take him with now Puka easily, right? They also play in week 17, Puka versus Drake London. You can take him with AJ Brown. You can take him with Derrick Henry. You can take him with Achane. You can do absolutely anything with Drake London. And I'm using him as that chess piece to move around the board because I think he's just a pretty awesome click. And I would like to have him with all of those different guys. All right, on to the Baltimore Ravens. It's just most importantly, because you guys know I'm a big Keaton Mitchell stan. We got bags and bags and bags of Keaton Mitchell in best ball this year. And he missed a couple practices, but I just want everyone to know that he's fine. They said he's fine. Their whole running back room is like banged up right now. And so he had to play a little more in the preseason than I think they wanted. And then the running backs are still hurt for practice. And so I don't think they wanted to overload him. And, first day back in like major football action in a while, you can be a little bit sore. He's not like injured. He's fine. The other like notable, not like a major thing, but interesting for the Baltimore Ravens, LeJohntay Wester looked quite good in their preseason game. From FAU and then played at Colorado for Coach Prime in his final season, and Shador and Travis Hunter and co. They mentioned loving him as a return man. They also mentioned that he could like potentially fill in for some stuff that Zay Flowers could do if necessary, which I thought was a little eye-popping. And then just saying not only that do they love him, but that he is probably going to be active on game, like to declare this about a rookie already, that they're like, they love him this much. He's probably going to be active on game days because they want him as a return man. I thought was just notable. It's not anything crazy, but if you were like absolutely looking for something at the end of the draft from a Ravens, and you do have this rookie who I think, the first step to scoring fantasy points is being active on game days. And that's tougher than it might seem for some rookies. And so just notable. Nothing crazy, but just notable, I thought. Always fun to hear some hype about a new rookie. Buffalo Bills. James Cook signed his extension. Probably should have been higher up on the list, but I went alphabetical by team. I think everybody kind of expected that James Cook would sign. I had him in the rankings in the same spot, like basically all around. Some other guys have moved and stuff, so his exact rank number might not have remained the same, but my expectation has been generally the same for James Cook. I actually thought he was a little overpriced before, and then maybe a decent price in the fifth round. But it's specifically because the quote that came from the Bills coaching staff after he signed his extension is, we love him. He's awesome. He's a really good football player. But like, we have other backs that do stuff too. And we think the best course of action is making sure that James Cook continues to stay fresh. How can he continue to be as impactful as possible? By also still playing Ray Davis and playing Ty Johnson. So if you thought like the extension is like, oh no, now James Cook is going to take over all of this stuff, that's not what the Bills are saying. So it doesn't mean James Cook is a bad pick. It just means the status. I think it's kind of status quo season for the Bills backfield, exactly like what we would expect. Carolina, we mentioned in the Tuesday in the preseason recap show that Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker are essentially battling it out for one starting spot. T-Mac is going to have one, and then Thielen / Renfro, I would assume it's Adam Thielen, and then the third wide receiver on the outside. So it also would be playing in two wide receiver sets is basically Xavier Legette versus Jalen Coker. And Legette got ejected from the preseason game, and Coker played well, and he kind of continues to show in practice. He's gotten some solid reviews. So has Legette, but he's gotten some solid reviews, Coker has. And I just found this quote interesting from the Panthers coaching staff. And it was essentially when asked about Jalen Coker, competing for wide receiver playing time, they made it clear that essentially they didn't call out Xavier Legette, but it was like, well, the thought is Jalen Coker is a late round pick and Xavier Legette was a first round pick. So those guys tend to get more priority from playing time because that's just what happens, right? You want to play your first round picks and kind of see that you're right and also give them opportunity to continue to grow. But they said, nope, we're going to play the best guys. Whoever we think is the best player gives us the best chance to win is going to get to play. So if Jalen Coker is better than Xavier Legette, which I think he might be better than Xavier Legette, we'll see. He's going to play. So just something to monitor. Of course, technically a Coker or something like that could move into the slot at times and they could all play together. I suspect that will happen on occasion, but it's kind of like a Coltsian situation that AD Mitchell had to beat out Alec Pierce last year and he couldn't do it. And I think it's possible that Xavier Legette might not be able to beat out Jalen Coker. We shall see. Chicago Bears. I just wrote down, people ask Ben Johnson about Luther Burden a lot. And I get it. And he accepts their question and he rambles about it. It's like he's being positive, but he's also slipping in backhanded insults in the midst of there. He's got a long way to go. And, but I love his attitude. He keeps working hard and he's doing this and that. And Olamide Zaccheaus has been apparently good in camp. And it just feels like the most Ben Johnson shit ever to start Zaccheaus to start the season. I think we're going to continue to see a Luther Burden fall, especially on a site like DraftKings. I still like him. I think he's showing pretty well. They keep saying that he's showing well in practice, but there's just certain when you play for a team that has Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen as coaches, it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill climb for the young players, and especially kind of prima donnas who missed a lot of missed mini camp and OTAs. Luther Burden missed mini camp and OTAs, and then missed the first part of training camp, so he's just a little bit behind. You guys don't need to hear me keep talking about Kyle Monangai, but seemingly every other day they say something about how much they fucking love Kyle Monangai. I don't know what to say anymore, honestly. Even recently, Roshan was mentioned in a quote with Kyle Monangai as just an ancillary afterthought. And so if we don't like Kyle Monangai, the prospect or whatever, that's fine. Ben Johnson loves him. The Bears love him. And I suspect he's going to get to play probably in week 1. So take that. If you take that for whatever it's worth. I'm drafting Kyle Monangai quite frequently right now. Cincinnati Bengals, our guy. I don't know if he's our guy. I don't really think he's a very I wouldn't be friends in real life with Jermaine Burton. I don't think, but I did notably like him as a bounce back candidate earlier in the summer, and training camp hasn't gone perfectly. He's been better. He's improved in training camp, but now he's banged up, and day to day, I find it pretty unlikely he's impactful, at least to start the season. We'll see what happens over the course of the season. We also mentioned last week that Charlie Jones played well, kind of honestly outplayed Jermaine Burton in their preseason game. And so things not going super great for Jermaine Burton. Again, doesn't mean it's over. he's going to make the team and such, but banged up right now. Mike Gesicki is also banged up and has been missing a lot of camp, and they're basically like, he's fine. We're being patient, letting him work his way back. So I don't have any. Myself, I don't have any concerns. They don't seem to have any concerns about Mike Gesicki's health and week 1 availability. They made sure to reiterate, like, we're being patient with him. On to the Cleveland Browns. Shout out Kendrick and shout out Quill. Appreciate you guys. Roshan is the only Bear who hasn't been brought to tears by Ben Johnson. And that's one of those things, and I believe in this too, is like, if you're just being ignored, that's bad. It's. I would rather him slander you in a post practice presser or a post preseason game presser. That's a lot of, say that one 10 times fast. In a press conference, I would rather him like straight up slander you. He's got to get better. He needs to keep working, all that kind of stuff, which he's kind of said that about Burden before. But he's also like, he's praising Burden's work ethic. He's just like, I'm not entirely sure he knows Roshan is on the team. That's obviously hyperbole, but it's weird. Been kind of a weird Bears camp, which again, Ben Johnson plus Dennis Allen. What do we expect? Shador with the Cleveland Browns has an oblique strain, just day to day, but every injury to some relevant player, I think, we just want to shout out because sometimes those things don't go according to plan. As we mentioned before earlier during the Quinshon Judkins part of the conversation, of course the Browns signed Isaiah Bond. Of course they did. They couldn't. They cannot help themselves with these bad humans or whatever. Whatever. I just thought it was. If you like Isaiah Bond, go for it. But not for me. I also didn't really like him as a prospect. Generally, when you don't do anything, bounce around from Bama to Texas. I know he popped here and there, but this just reeks of an even shittier version of Jermaine Burton. And but he didn't go in the 3rd round. He went undrafted. So no, thank you for Isaiah Bond. For me, the biggest part of the Judkins issue for me that we kind of talked about before, just to reiterate it here, is the last bullet on the Browns. Dylan Sampson is taking that job. He's taking the bull by the horns. He's taking that backfield right now. So what is the scenario in which Judkins returns immense fantasy value for us this year? Is he going to step right in and just take the job now from Dylan Sampson? I don't think so. And so then you still kind of have this Jerome Ford thing lingering over. So is Judkins a 1B, his ceiling is a 1B back to another rookie on a probably bad offense? I do think the Browns can score some fantasy points. I trust Stefanski. I trust Flacco. They have, of course, scored fantasy points in the past, including last year. But I don't know. I'm struggling to envision the scenario where he just comes in and takes this job back just because he's a 2nd round pick. He's a 2nd round pick who hasn't practiced all summer and just nearly gotten some very serious trouble. Who knows exactly when he'll be back? Is he in shape? Is he going to work his way into shape during the season? Is Sampson just better than him? There's a lot of serious levels. It's not so simple as, okay, it's all good. He's going to sign. He's the starting running back now, right? This isn't James Cook. Quinshon Judkins is not James Cook, where you're just yep, he just needed to sign. He'll be back in and doing his thing. He's a rookie. He hasn't practiced and has a fellow rookie who is practicing and is kind of taking over the job. Plus, as a trusted veteran in the Jerome Ford that isn't sexy, but the team trusts him. It's a weird one. So I'm still not really that bullish on Quinshon Judkins. If you got some sick values, I think that's a positive thing. But I think Sampson's going to tumble back down again and kind of become my target again, ironically enough. So, yeah, let's see. Monungai looks bad in press, but Rojo will find good. Okay. First of all, have you seen Rojo do pass protection? Kyle Monungai is a fierce pass protector who needs to work on his what do you want to call it? his form and everything. He needs to work on where you get your feet, where you get your where you get your hands, your balance and contact balance. Don't reach, don't get overextended, all that kind of stuff when he's pass blocking. But he's out there to rip dudes face off, and Ronald Jones is not a thing. It would be funny if Ronald Jones is a thing, but Ronald Jones is not a thing. I don't think Rojo's going to make the team. Travis Homer is hurt, but I haven't double checked on the severity of the Travis Homer thing. If Rojo was going to come in and get the goal line work and stuff, they would have signed him a long time ago to get that. Let's see. Good point from Travis. Part of not taking Judkins the past month is what do you win if he doesn't get suspended? That's my take. Like, okay, so he doesn't even get suspended. How does he get the job back? Right? He can, but I think also at full transparency, I was not the world's biggest Quinshon Judkins fan, and I did quite like Dylan Sampson. I'm not sure that Judkins is even better than Dylan Sampson, so I'm also coming at it from that perspective, and I admit full bias in that regard. By Rojo, you meant Roshan. Yeah, that's fine. They don't agree. Like we ran with Roshan, got 2 goal line touchdowns in one singular practice. A couple beat writers wrote about it. And now people are like, well, he's the goal line back and the passing down back. And it's like, but every other day of practice also matters. And all the other quotes from the coaches also matter. And I'm not so sure that that's true about Roshan Johnson. I'm not sure they want it to be true. It might have been true in that day. But Roshan has to be the most fetch ass fantasy football player I've ever seen in my entire life. Specifically, like on the Bears last year, DJ Moore, awful, right? Played terrible last year. And so we wrote him off. He sucks. It's over for DJ Moore. We don't care about him anymore. Luther Burden was terrible last year at Mizzou. So we're concerned about his play from last year, despite the fact he was one of the best receivers in the country 2 years ago and the number 1 high school recruit coming out of high school. It's over for Javonte Williams. It's over for Miles Sanders, so much so that we have to draft Jaden Blue. It's over for, insert X running back. But Roshan, in college, Roshan really didn't, he was always a backup. And it's okay. We'll give him, it's fine. He was behind Bijan Robinson, right? Okay, got it. That's fine. So we'll give him a pass for the fact that, he didn't really do that much in college. Okay, cool. Comes to the Bears. At what point does Roshan Johnson have to do something on an NFL field worth a shit? Who exactly has held him back all of these years? Donta Foreman? Khalil Herbert kept Roshan Johnson on the bench. Khalil Herbert's about to be out of the NFL. He's running with the 4th string team on the Colts behind DJ Giddens and Tyler Goodson. Khalil Herbert's probably going to be out of the NFL, and he kept Roshan Johnson on sideline. Donta Foreman is out of the NFL and is probably going to kept him on the sideline. Now it's DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. At a certain point, when do we stop trying to make fetch happen with Roshan Johnson? I think it's just over. We've been trying to make Roshan Johnson a thing for 4 years now. And I think, at a certain point, we accept the writing that's on the wall. So I will, again, as always, I will wave the white flag. I'm an open book. I will accept my L's. If Roshan Johnson is the guy you need this year, no problems. I got no problems. But all from my process perspective, a guy who has done nothing for years and years and years, and the team never talks about him or cares about him, and all they do is talk about their other backs. That's a lot of, if we're Pepe Sylvia this up on the board, there's a lot of boards that point to Carroll, and Carroll is Monangai. There ain't nothing pointing up to Roshan in the other corner. So when do we stop trying to? You didn't hear me mention DeAndre Swift. I ain't drafting DeAndre Swift. So no, thank you. Let's see. That was how did we get back on the Dylan Sampson led us into Monangai and stuff. So here's a perfect one. The Voldemort backfield, Dallas Cowboys backfield, which we've tried not to talk about for weeks now. Javonte got a shout out Shuby from the Spike Week Discord. Said this was great. Javonte got a Nick Chubb-esque quote from the Dallas Cowboys. He has been getting, you do hear this from the beats that Javonte is getting the most time with the ones. He's the He's the RB1, whatever the fuck that means in this disaster of a backfield in Dallas. And so when asked about him, Brian Schottenheimer, what has stood out? Why is Javonte, being the lead? What has stood out about him in training camp and everything? And he said a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with being good at football. His experience, his wisdom, this guy's done it before, all this kind of stuff. And like, those are just the most concerning goddamn quotes ever. It's like, tell me he's good. Don't tell me about I know he's experienced, brother. I can pull up his Pro Football Reference page. I can Google him. I know he's played football for years. I want to know, why is he good? Right. So that was a rather concerning quote about Javonte Williams, but not too much else going on in Cowboys camp, though, at least that we didn't cover on Tuesday. Denver Broncos, same thing. Sean Payton, Sean Payton being Sean Payton. I don't want to dive too much into the Broncos stuff that we've already kind of talked about, the wide receiver room and the running back room, especially on Tuesday. You can go back and watch that. It's really the same stuff from the preseason. For the Lions, Sam Laporta will, in quotes, miss a little time, but not a serious injury. Again, it seems based on Dan Campbell and Lions reports that, they're just being smart. It's training camp. It's not serious, but there's no reason to have him out there risking, a further injury given they know what Sam Laporta is at this point in time. So he'll miss a little time, but not serious, not expected to miss any time in season for Laporta. So if you get a dip on him and you like him and you like the new price, I think it's still wheels up for Sam Laporta. With the Packers, Jordan Love had it sounded like a air quotes helmet got him, right? Like a follow through or something. And he hit guy come rushing by, whatever, hit his offhand and had to get some surgery done on the thumb of his left hand, right? He's right-handed, obviously, had to get surgery on his offhand. And they said the surgery literally said these words, the surgery went perfect and he's all good for week 1. Jordan Love was just interviewed himself yesterday and he's throwing. He thinks he'll be back at practice next week. So I don't know what the hell happened, but dude got surgery and he's back in a couple days, apparently, with Jordan Love. So a lot going on at Packers camp. However, Jaden Reed is out of his boot. So the old the LaFleur quote of "You're always concerned when somebody's in a boot." Well, he's not. Jaden Reed is not in a boot, though has not returned to practice yet. That's all we have. We don't have any more updates. So TBD on Jaden Reed, though. I've been just injecting my opinion. He's falling like crazy, again, especially on like DraftKings. And if he's fine and we're getting him like past pick 100, that seems pretty good to me. Christian Watson, who's been impressing with where his health is at in training camp, still they're like the quote was he's more than likely to start the season on the PUP. I don't see why. They're basically they said something along the lines of we're excited about where he's at, but he has a whole career to go. Basically, they said something about like making sure to take care of the kid for the long term, and which really, really indicated. And then they also straight up said he more than likely starts on the PUP, but just additional context to make you pretty sure that he's going to start on the PUP. Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson were both back at practice, and Marshawn Lloyd is doing the Marshawn Lloyd thing. He's a pretty fun athlete. And Mike Spofford, I'm trying to make sure and cite some of these guys as much as I can. But a Packers beat writer has been wowed by Marshawn Lloyd. There was one a couple days ago when he first returned that they made sure to report he put a juke move on somebody, and the whole like sideline did the gasp of like, oh my God, when somebody makes a crazy play. And then Mike keeps talking about Marshawn like he's just different. He moves different. This guy's different. And so yeah, it's nothing, but there's got to be something here behind Josh Jacobs, and I'm probably the fish who's gonna still dabble in some of those Marshawn Lloyd waters. I can't help myself. Houston Texans, Damian Pierce, Joe Mixon, still no updates, of course. Damian Pierce and Nick Chubb are splitting the reps with the starters. Continues to be my I guess it's my drum beat. There's a drum beat around Dameon Pierce, and I'm also banging that drum for Dameon Pierce. I think he's going to be the starter for the Houston Texans at running back in week 1. Unfortunately, some more wide receiver. If you go in like the 70s or 80s as a wide receiver, you either rose way up by ADP and you're now going in the 60s, like a Ricky Pearsall or an Emeka Ibuka, or you got hurt, like a Josh Downs or a Jaden Reed or a Khalil Shakir or something like that. Josh Downs, a hamstring injury yesterday in practice. He, walked off under his own power, all that kind of stuff, but it's a hamstring injury. Most of the time you do walk off under your own power. Well, I have no idea the severity. It's on 0. So he could be fine and back at practice today. He could be back at practice right now. I don't know what time they're practicing today. He could be back at practice today, like right as we're speaking. Or it's a hamstring injury. I just do always get concerned with hamstring injuries. Aren't you worried? Not yet until they give us reports, but hamstrings for receivers and DBs and running backs and stuff like that, always just a little bit concerning. So we'll need to monitor that for Josh Downs. This has been a while, but Anthony Richardson back at practice and he's totally fine. Tyler Warren continues to be kind of a focal point. And I've mentioned this before in one of these shows that I put it on there because I find it notable. So we've talked for many, many years in fantasy circles about how, you can't draft rookie tight ends, right? It's too much for a rookie tight end because they got to learn how to be an offensive lineman and they got to learn how to play receiver. It's just really hard for a rookie tight end to produce. Well, that obviously has not been true for the last little bit, several years actually, but it is a real thing. Like the mental part of coming in and playing tight end at the NFL level is taxing for sure. And so they keep making note to say like, we're going to keep putting stuff on Tyler Warren's plate because he's excelling and we're pushing him to the limit from a mental perspective and he's excelling. So just, if you like Tyler Warren, he has risen up a little bit after a good preseason performance, but something to consider. Jacksonville Jaguars, I didn't even really want to put anything because there isn't particularly anything impressive, but they do continue to rotate their running backs all the way down to LaQuint Allen. They all 4 of them get positive reports. Etienne, Bigsby, Tootin, and LaQuint Allen all kind of continue to get positive reports. So who knows what's going on. Kansas City Chiefs. Kareem Hunt hurt his quad. He's got a boo-boo on his quad. Can you imagine how slow he's running now with a bruise on his quad, as slow as he was running before? But, we'll monitor. I don't imagine it's anything, but he has supposedly looked terrible in camp. So has everyone except Isaiah Pacheco. Basically, Carson Steele right now is in the mix to make the roster, which I can't believe is a real thing. Brashard Smith playing behind all of these guys so far, just pretty concerning. But Kareem Hunt banged up right now, so maybe some of these guys get a little more opportunity while he's hurt. Hollywood Brown, it's not Darnell Mooney levels of concern like we talked about before, but it ain't much different. Is an ankle. They also did not specify exactly what it was. They said it's kind of an ankle/foot thing, which is weird. Sounds like some Rex Ryan shit. He's progressing, and they said in quotes, he's running now a little bit, which is like very Najee. Is very Najee Harris level. Like he's jogging around the field. I'm like, is he going to play a football game in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks? That doesn't seem this doesn't seem great. So I'm rather concerned with Hollywood Brown, but we'll see what's going on. Dante Thornton from the Las Vegas Raiders. Just go check it out. I won't dive into the full thing. There was a recent quote from the Raiders GM. It is in the Coach Speak Index. It's also out there on Twitter and stuff like that, talking about Dante Thornton. And he waxed poetic about this dude for like 2 paragraphs when asked about Dante Thornton. And he thinks he's going to have a monster rookie season. They're really excited about Dante Thornton. So he's risen up as well, of course. But sometimes he'll fall back a little bit. He isn't the shiny new toy at wide receiver. That is Torrey Horton, which we will, of course, get to later. And there are some other wide receivers late that are popping and people are getting excited about. So just a reminder that Dante Thornton is still around and still they're very excited about him. Another big quote that came out of Chargers camp. A lot of Chargers stuff going on this summer, as it tends to be the case with their injury luck and the shit show that has been the Chargers for years. When asked about Omarion Hampton's workload, if Najee Harris was not going to be ready for the season, offensive coordinator Greg Roman said that other running backs will get work. And like, we run with that in fantasy circles. We turn our brains. We're like chickens with our heads cut off. We read a quote and we run in panic and we say, oh no, we can't draft Omarion Hampton now. Another running back's going to touch the football in a Chargers game. Like, no shit, dude. Everybody plays multiple running backs. If the assumption was Omarion Hampton was going to get 100% of the touches for the Los Angeles Chargers without Najee Harris, he would not be going even where he's going. He would be going higher. No one gets every touch. Everyone rotates backfields. Greg Roman said as much, that like the days of that workhorse running back that don't exist anymore. As long as he's getting the high value touches, that's what we're paying for, as well as his talent and the offensive environment. Like, the royal we in the fantasy community, we're so high strung at this time of year. Like oh no, they're gonna play. Kamani Vidal's gonna get 6 carries in week 1. Oh no. And it's like, it's okay, man. I promise it's all good. That's baked in. We know other guys are gonna get the ball. Greg Roman did also, if you're a Trey Harris slappy like me, this has been about the worst possible run out that you can get. I buried Trey Harris in the rankings. Excited to see if any of this is true, though. Greg Roman does now. Again, if this is your first time joining, if you're watching live, please hit that like button, because in concert with you hitting the like button, it's a good time to remind you that the Chargers hit the like button on every single one of their players who ever graces a Chargers jersey. And so the hype out of Chargers camp is always something we have to take with a grain of salt. They have been endlessly positive about Trey Harris, despite signing Keenan Allen, despite KLS getting a lot of hype, despite poor performance, from a box score perspective. The performances from Trey Harris through 2 preseason games have not been very good. Greg Roman came out and reiterated he actually was good. They think he was good. Are there things he can improve upon? Of course, they think he was good. There was some weirdness on some plays that he should have got the ball, but when Trey Lance is the quarterback, who's playing well, but it's not like playing with Justin Herbert. He just made sure to be we're still excited about Trey, and they're going to look to get him the ball a little bit more in the second, or in this next, their third preseason game, preseason week 2. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm not still buying Trey Harris at the moment, and maybe that will make me feel foolish at a certain point. But I did really plummet him in the ranks, even though the Chargers are excited about him. Let's see. That's weird. You didn't have to tell me that you went to the bathroom, Charles. But yes, we're going team by team, every single team's preseason breakdown. You either want the information or you don't. I don't know what to tell you, Charles. You can go back and poop again if you would like to wait and come back for when we pop in a draft here in a minute. Obviously messing around, but we are on to the Rams, one of the most notable teams so far. Yeah, and Kai says it doesn't sound great for Najee for week 1. Matthew Stafford last Saturday worked out, and the plan, if you recall from last Friday's show, the plan was if he responds well and looks good in his workout, he'll be back in practice on Monday. He worked out. They actually thought he looked great. All the reports were great from the workout, but he wasn't feeling so great Monday, and he's not quite ready to come back to practice. So the thing that you'll hear the Rams talk about, and specifically McVay, is just, we're playing it safe. We're playing it safe. We're taking it day by day. We're doing right by Matthew Stafford. We're doing right. But, he's constantly kind of saying the same thing. He's definitely been coached up from a PR perspective. He just keeps saying sort of the same thing. He's not back yet. They have said, at least right now, surgery's not on the table. They're just going to keep kind of, taking this day by day. They're going to do the same thing. The latest reports, he's going to work out again tomorrow. Today's Friday. He's going to work out tomorrow on Saturday with the hopes of his back responding better to the workout this time. it does get more concerning by the day. How I'm thinking about it, though, I'm without Matthew Stafford. Like my concern levels for the rest of the guys would be, I'm really not that concerned with Puka Nacua. Honestly, I'm buying the Puka dip. Devontae is a little bit more concerning, and then I am quite concerned with Kyren Williams. Just if we lose scoring opportunities, that's where he makes his money, right? Is scoring a bunch of touchdowns, getting all the work in a good offense. If the offense does take a dip with a Jimmy G or a Stetson Bennett at the helm, there was also notably yesterday in camp a clip that made its rounds of Jimmy G throwing the most hospital ball pass you've ever seen to Davante Adams. So Davante's probably having flashbacks to playing with Jimmy G in Vegas and the hospital balls that Jimmy likes to throw. So that did, cause some minor concerns. I think the ancillary players are a little bit concerning, though. If this thing goes disastrously with the Rams, I think some of their late round dart type guys can be interesting. Jarquez Hunter, another Rams beat, made sure to mention that, like, Kyren is good. Corum's having a good camp, but the guy who pops the most every single day is Jarquez Hunter in the backfield. So still keeping a light on for Jarquez. And I think if this thing goes to shit, if Stafford, the back stuff is real, the Rams are out of the playoffs late, I think you could see some Jarquez Hunter at the end of the season. I think you could see some Jordan Whittington and some Terrence Ferguson at the end of the season. So another thing to monitor with Matthew Stafford's back. They do like Kanata Mumfield, as Felix says, although Xavier Smith was the star of the first preseason game. Dolphins, Tyreek is not back. Don't really know what's going on with Tyreek. I don't think Tyreek knows what's going on with Tyreek. Alexander Mattison, we mentioned on Tuesday, is out for the season. So we'll see between Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon who dukes it out for the backup running back spot. So far, Minnesota Vikings, we mentioned Addison being suspended. The only other real thing is Justin Jefferson has not been practicing with a hamstring injury, and he doesn't seem concerned, and they don't seem concerned. They're reassessing him early next week. New England Patriots, if you had to, so this is so weird. Boston Sports Radio is losing their minds over Diggs. Diggs not getting targeted in joint practices, FYI. That doesn't make any sense to me, because there was multiple other reports about how awesome Diggs has looked. And there was a report from a different Patriots beat writer about how he would be shocked if Stephon Diggs doesn't catch 100+ balls. And like, there was clips just yesterday from the joint practices of him absolutely cooking Vikings corners. And so, I those are the things that we get conflicting reports on those. I just don't really worry about it. Diggs is healthy. Diggs, the concern for Stephon Diggs at this price was like his health, and he's out there and playing, and he's going to play in week 1. Like, some people are saying he's awesome, and some people are saying he's not. That's why we try not to. Even I know I've mentioned some of it here, but we try not to dabble too much in the waters of the beat writers, like speculating on who's good and who's not. They're not scouts. They're journalists. They're journalists who write about football and watch football, but their job is, I want them to report the news, not report their hand in the dirt takes. And so every once in a while, it's fun to see them because it can be somewhat helpful. And I'm not saying that the Diggs one isn't, but we literally have conflicting reports from the people watching the same thing, which kind of tells us everything we need to know about how much do we trust those guys, like football bro takes. Well, one guy's watching Diggs and he thinks he's going to absolutely dominate this season. Another guy's watching Diggs and he thinks he's not. So like, whatever. Let's see. Am I boozing already? No, absolutely not. Let's see. Okay, let's finish. TreVeyon, I mean, every day in practice, the real news out of Patriots camp, Stephon Diggs is whatever. The real news, first of all, Ramondre's missed some practice, and it wasn't a big deal, just some soreness from the preseason game. TreVeyon Henderson is a superstar. That's it. Flag plant. I don't care. I don't care. I'm taking him in the 4th. I'm taking him. He's too good. Ramondre Stevenson is not a roadblock to TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon is a baller. What a stud. I don't have much else to say. Every single day, he makes monster plays in camp. The first time he touched the ball in an NFL football game, granted it was preseason, he returned to kick 100 yards for a touchdown. He's constantly ripping big plays. He's pass protecting. Right, the really big thing is like he's dominating in pass protection, which means awesome things for a rookie running back. I mean, just draft TreVeyon. Saints, Devin Neal not close to being back. They put Bub Means on IR. Not that matters, but Mason Tipton has been impressing in Saints camp. Bub Means probably competing with Mason Tipton for like back end wide receiver stuff, as well as like Brandon Cooks and some of that. So just like Mason Tipton, keep an eye out with Bub Means on injured reserve now. And if you've been drafting Taysom or interested in Taysom Hill, not ready to get back on the field anytime soon was the quote from the Saints. Malik Neighbors not practicing, but the team seems completely not concerned. They're just managing his, foot toe issue, whatever it is. And then there was an interesting quote from the Giants where I think this one was Dayball. Yeah, I even wrote it down. Maybe I should read my own writing. We have a starting running back. That's how we started a quote about the running back room. We have a starting running back. We have a couple other running backs that we think are going to help us. And then Dante Miller, who has been showing pretty well in training camp. So what this means, Tyrone Tracy, when he says we have a starting running back, he's talking about Tyrone Tracy. When he says we have a couple other running backs that are going to help us, he's talking about Cam Scadaboo, Devin Singletary, and also Dante Miller. So I think it's fair to say, at least to start the season, that Tyrone Tracy is the man in the Giants backfield. Do you want that? That's up to you. But I believe those tea leaves have been read. We read them. They're there. It's Tyrone Tracy's backfield to start the season. At least New York Jets, similar another backfield that's quite the opposite. You have never heard Aaron Glenn say we have a starting running back. You have heard Aaron Glenn say literally the exact opposite. We're going to utilize all those guys in response to his running back room. That means Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and of course, Breece Hall. I think Breece needs to keep falling. I understand Breece is very talented, but every single report from the Jets are that Braylon is also talented and Isaiah Davis is also talented, and they're all going to get to play, and they did all get to play with the ones in the first drive of the preseason. Shockingly, Mason Taylor had the quickest recovery you've ever seen from a high ankle sprain. He's back at practice. So if you like Mason Taylor and you bought the dip, I think you're all good. Philadelphia Eagles, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith is back at practice, but AJ Brown is still working through some things. They also do not seem concerned, just like Neighbors, just like Justin Jefferson, etc. But just notable that AJ Brown is not practicing right now. Pittsburgh Steelers, Calvin Austin, also not practicing. They labeled him as day-to-day and rehabbing on the side. I just wrote Caleb Johnson because he gets brought up a lot, and I just want to reiterate that he is currently playing behind certainly Jaylen Warren, but also Kenny Gainwell, and they do speak highly of his work ethic. They speak highly of him as a runner, but he has a long way to go in some small elements of the game that are very important. The ones that TreVeyon Henderson is already crushing: pass protection, catching the ball, right? Those kinds of things. Caleb Johnson was not going to be ready to do those things to come. The hope for Caleb Johnson was that he would come in and get the, first and second down. You run the ball, Warren comes in or Gainwell comes in, whatever, on passing downs. They seem to be very concerned about this passing down stuff from Caleb Johnson, even though I don't really understand why there is that much of a concern about it, because that's not what the expectation should have been. But when you introduce Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, we'll see what we get from Caleb as a rookie. I do still think he can be a late season kind of hammer-ish guy, but the price is probably not appropriate for that kind of a bet. San Francisco 49ers, good God, the injuries that continue to happen with the San Francisco 49ers, though Jacob Cowing is back. Jordan Watkins has a high ankle sprain. Juwan Jennings has a calf injury that is, in quotes, not too serious, but still bothering him. Is that real? Is he saying it's bothering him because he wants more money, or does it really bother him? That remains to be seen. We'll never know that. But he's out. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk is out. Jordan Watkins is out. Demarcus Robinson is suspended to start the season, though appealing his suspension. And so Jacob Cowing coming back, he has a chance like if he can impress in these final couple of weeks, he has a chance for an early season role with the 49ers offense. I don't know what that means for the 49ers offense, but Jacob Cowing might be back on the menu for the 49ers. They did sign Jeff Wilson amidst all their running back issues because they just need bodies. They only had Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Taylor left at running back, and Corey Kiner, rookie out of Cincinnati, who didn't look too bad in their preseason game, but they signed Jeff Wilson. And the quote about Brandon Ayuk was also very bizarre. He could be back week 6. He could be back week 10. He could be back. Who knows? Kyle Shanahan, notably the guy who said, I don't know, we could all be dead by Sunday or whatever, right? In unsurprising Kyle Shanahan fashion, we didn't get a lot of clarity, though it does not sound like Brandon Ayuk is going to be back anytime soon to play football for the Niners. Lil Dodger says, no one talks about how all these wide receiver injuries should be boosting Kittle. Brother, I'm with you. I hope it doesn't need to be said. George Kittle is my highest owned tight end, one of my highest owned players in all of best ball. We stand George Kittle. Draft George Kittle. There you go. Draft George Kittle. Deal. We should all draft George Kittle. I am with you. Nick Wagner also mentioned, I didn't put this down here, but Nick Wagner, beat writer, really, really good beat writer for, also one of my buddies is good friends with Nick Wagner, really good beat writer for the San Francisco 49ers, made sure to point out that if anybody thought George Kittle getting older had fallen off, he assures you he has not in camp. So again, that's just his speculation, but I do actually trust Nick. Speaking of showing well in camp, the Seattle Seahawks, I just wanted to, it's my show. I get to talk about the guys that I want to talk about. This is just a silly story, but I thought it was fun. And so not like the Seahawks wide receivers, not the Seahawks coaches, not like Seahawks fans, defensive players from the Seattle Seahawks have taken to calling Torrey Horton Jerry Rice Jr. Seems bullish on Torrey Horton. So, there's still time. Just like there's still time to get on the TreVeyon bandwagon. There's still time to draft George Kittle. There's still time to draft Torrey Horton. The price is fine. Pay $2 in your auction draft instead of $1. I think you'll be all right. Give the $1 back to everybody else. Let them. When did they play with Jerry Rice? They weren't alive when Jerry Rice played. But when a young guy knows about Jerry Rice, that seems notable to me. 100%. Player speak. We need a player speak index. Player speak index. Are the Seattle defensive backs trustworthy? Coach speak index. Please help me, Greg. All right, Tampa Bay Bucks, a couple more teams, and then we'll pop into a draft because we got a new promo on drafters this weekend, and we got to give away some free tickets here in a little bit. Rachaad White is day to day with his groin injury. It looked kind of bad in the preseason game, but who am I? I'm not a medical expert. He ran right to the sideline, laid down, grabbed at the groin. As you guys know, I love me some Sean Tucker. They did have a quote. Todd Bowles mentioning that they need to give Sean Tucker the ball more. So I think we're going to see some Sean Tucker, certainly while Rachaad is banged up. But I think we were probably always going to get some level of Sean Tucker. He kind of went back. He kind of went back to the bench last year after he started to pop up. I don't think that's going to happen this year. How much work does he get? Are we talking about 3 touches a game? I have no idea. But I don't think he's going to just stand on the sideline to start the year. The other clearly very notable thing, Scott Reynolds, a very trustworthy beat writer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, would be shocked if Godwin does not start on the PUP. So not a great run out for Chris Godwin shares. I'm holding out, and I might buy that dip. Like he might really, really, really plummet later, and I can buy at a later date and deal with the fact, right? I think Godwin's going to be an interesting pick if he does end up and plummeting and ends up on the PUP list, but remains to be seen if that's true. Though Scott thinks that's what is going to happen. Tyjae Spears, of course, got hurt also last week, and just a quick update that he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. They haven't ruled him out for week 1 or anything like that. I would be pretty shocked if he played in week 1, but at least a couple of weeks for Tyjae Spears. Easton Freeze, Titans beat writer. Again, this is like some speculation-ish reporting that's like he's reporting the news, but also sort of his interpretation of things. We want to be careful with these, but I thought it was a usage thing that was at least interesting and notable. He mentioned that there's been a concerted effort to get 4 individual Titans players the ball on offense. Calvin Ridley, okay, you would expect. Tony Pollard, yep, okay, obviously. Chiga Okonkwo, who also, that's interesting because he played every single snap with the ones in the preseason game. Historically and last year, he would rotate at tight end. So they've been getting him the ball more. And Alec Iomanor. So Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett started the preseason game, but Iomanor has been a guy getting in with the ones and seemingly getting the football quite a bit. So, yeah, we kind of like Iomanor already as a late round wide receiver and maybe a little bit better thanks to Mr. Easton Freeze. And just a last funny little bit from Washington Commanders, because everybody saw one clip of Deebo Samuel running half speed in a warm-up drill and declared him fat. And the Washington Commanders beg to differ. Deebo is fast and in great shape and popping at Washington camp. And yes, Terry McLaurin's still holding out. No real updates there. So that will be that for our news recap. We're going to pop in over on Drafters. If you could quickly hit the like button, I see you guys watching. It would be awesome if you could hit that like button so that we can keep reporting the news here on Fridays and keep us all informed about everything that's going on, both like very real serious news and then also, making sure that Deebo's not fat and that TreVeyon Henderson is an absolute superstar. So smash that like button super quickly before we hop in over on Drafters. If you have not played on Drafters before, Drafters.com, Drafters Fantasy, you can go use code SPIKE. You get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100 if you've not played, right? If it's your first time deposit. And then they launched a new promo today. So they're looking to, I think that this tournament, guys, is going to overlay the $20 best ball main event here. As you see, we'll hop. Let's get in this 7 out of 12 draft. I need 4 of you guys to join. But as you see here on the right side of your screen, I can zoom in a little bit, that they have a new promo for this weekend, a flash bonus weekend. If you draft 5 fast drafts from today until the 17th, 5 fast drafts. So there's your $100, right? You deposit $100, we'll get $100 free with code SPIKE, and then you can get them all paid for, right? With code SPIKE. They'll give you a free ticket. So draft 5, get 1 free this weekend over on Drafters. They also have, if you've already been drafting, awesome. Shout out to you. If not, there's still time to get a free ticket from drafting a fast draft for 10 consecutive days. So you draft 1 today, 1 tomorrow, and 1 Sunday, and then pop in 2 more over this weekend. You get a free ticket. And then all you got to do is continue for 1 more week, consecutive days doing a fast draft. You'll get another free ticket plus a $10 pick'em ticket. They do have these. If you're on your streak, reminds me of ESPN Beat the Streak. If you're on your streak, you can continue your streak and get some more free tickets over on Drafters. And of course, every Friday here on Drafters, if you have left a comment on a Spike Week video, you get entered to win a free ticket to the Drafters main event. After we're done with this draft, we'll give away 3 free tickets. A lot of entries this week. A lot of entries. Andrew asked, how does scoring work? Great question. I should have hit that. So it is a cumulative scoring format, meaning there's no playoffs from week 1. So once this draft is over, these other 11 people that are in this draft with myself, I'm not just competing with them. I'm competing with all tens of thousands, 100,000 people in the entire tournament. I need to score the most points from week 1 to week 17. It's a 20-round draft. You start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex position every single week. And it is full point PPR. So score the most points, right? Draft the most, draft the team, score the most points from week 1 to week 17. Bingo, bango, bongo, win $500,000. It's a $500,000 first prize. Gerardo says, when does, also love it, the cash money avatar. When does the streak start? That started on August 1st. So it ends at the end of August. So you can still get you can't get to 20 anymore, obviously, but you can still get to that. You started today. I need to zoom out a little bit here, huh? How about we do the London thing we were talking about? Pull up Drake London, see if we can't get a little fun Drake London combination. We said it was Drake London season. We're going to stick to our guns. If we're going to break down Darnell Mooney might be back this year and it's Drake London season, you might as well go get him. It's also go get your guys season. Remember that. Remember that moving forward. Every time you get into a draft, just remember it's go get your guys season. Hopefully we get some positive news every Friday and Tuesdays after the preseason. Hopefully we get some positive news on our guys, but nonetheless, it is still go get your guys season. Okay, a lot of comments to catch up on. I apologize. There you go. Yeah, Easton Freeze or Efton Chisholm. One is a beat writer and one is a football player. Notably, the next Julian Edelman. Unsurprisingly, the comps for Efton Chisholm are Julian Edelman and Wes Welker and Danny Amendola. Because if you're white, you're Ben Affleck. These DK out tags are a thing of beauty. Getting Godwin at like 120, says Rohim. Let's see here. 12% BTJ with London. That sort of defeats the purpose, though not entirely. I just want to see something. Let's do AJ Brown instead. Do a little London AJ Brown start here. Congratulations to this gentleman next to me getting you're welcome for Brian Thomas Jr. Pretty standard start, aside from me, of course. Genty Garrett Wilson from Zabo SoCal there. I like it. This is your free ticket bonus draft. That's correct. There are, I should have mentioned, draft. You can get so many free tickets on Drafters. Obviously, we're giving some away on Fridays. If you do 5 this weekend, you get a free ticket. If you hit some of those streaks, you get free tickets. But also, I believe it's if you do 25 drafts, you get a free one. If you do 50 drafts, you get a free one. 75, 100, and then 150, you get something else as a bonus. I would have to go back and even honestly double check that. There's so many like promos available on Drafters. Sometimes the free ticket just shows up into your account and you're like, oh, sweet. And you don't even remember which promo that it's for. But yeah, this is my 76th draft. So I did 75 and I got a free ticket for that as well. Shug says, so used to underdog and DraftKings. What's the play on Drafters? Draft olds and late round rookies devalued. So I think that's how people think about Drafters, and I think it's the opposite. You still want the league winners. Like, think about who has defined the season most of these years. It's never the old guys, right? You still wanted Bucky. You still wanted Kyron. You still wanted Puka. You wanted rookie year Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson. Rashee Rice. Right? You've wanted all of those guys. It's not just like, I'm not saying there's not more value than on an underdog in the freaking Adam Thielens and Keenan Allens or whatever. They're a little bit more valuable, but you still want to draft the league winners because you need all the big hits. You need to beat all the teams. Are you going to beat 100,000 teams in total points over the course of the entire season with a bunch of like floor plays? You can mix in a couple floor plays if you have some, you need some early season production or something like that. Damn it. The whole play right there was to try to get Kittle. Otherwise, I would have taken Bowers. But nonetheless, I'm just gonna go ahead and take Hurts. Now I'm scared. It's go get your guy season, and I didn't go get my guy, and this is why you do it. George Kittle does not make it back to me. The whole plan was to take George Kittle. Nonetheless, but yes, Roheen says it takes a super team. So think about how you would create a super team, because you basically need to draft the nuts. you needed Saquon and Jamar Chase last year and Bucky Irving and Chase Brown, and you needed all this stuff. And so who on that list is like Adam Thielen and Keenan Allen and these dusty old guys, Aaron Rodgers and whatever, right? We don't want those guys. We want to hit home runs because we need to score the most points. Yep. Draft the best players. I know that I don't like, I'm not saying I know who the best, from an archetype perspective. Speaking of an archetype perspective, we said go draft TreVeyon Henderson. Go draft TreVeyon Henderson, including on drafters. I don't care that he's a rookie. He's going to score fantasy points, a lot of them. And PPR is also very good for TreVeyon Henderson. See, interesting. Phantom says that contest seems like a true lotto. Some people think the opposite, right? You get the people who hate Best Ball Mania and the DraftKings Millie because you get to the playoffs, right? And I advanced 40% of my teams and they all got knocked out in the playoffs because I didn't have Jonathan Taylor. It's like they think that's a lottery and they think this is the appropriate, this is the true decider of who drafts the best, right? Just who actually just scores the most points. I mean, I see all angles. I enjoy all the different formats. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm just here because I love best ball and love drafting. Our friends at Drafters are awesome. This tournament is a ton of fun. It's going to overlay, right? So think about how advantageous this tournament is for all of us. They're giving away tons of free tickets. You're going to get 10% of your entries for free. Let's just call it just for fun. You're going to get 5 to 10% of your entries for free. So, okay, that seems good. Did you get any free Best Ball Mania teams, right? Whatever. No, you didn't. So you're going to get entries paid for by them. Then it's not going to fill. It has yet to fill in drafters, existence over the last 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. So it's you're basically every team you put onto drafters is worth more than the $20 that you put in because they gave you a bunch of free ones and then it didn't fill. That seems like a really good place to invest your time and money. You can get some free ones if you've never played on there before. Of course, with code SPIKE, right, you get 5 more free tickets. If you don't want to enter into the $20, the other contests will fill, but they have a $10 Superflex tournament. They have a $3 mini tournament, and that one's definitely going to fill. But if you want to, right, you can draft 150 teams for $450 it's $25,000 to first place. There's a lot of options on drafters. They run a really great platform. But doesn't really every site require a super team? I understand there's no pod luck here, but definitely seems tougher. Yeah, tougher is just, they're all tough. You definitely need a super team. It's just a super team is different. You don't hold on. Let's make, dang, Pierce all the way up here, huh? God damn, guys. Well, this draft room is not very fun. I'm not taking DK Metcalf. You can't make me. I'll do Waddle. To win any tournament with hundreds of thousands of teams in it, right, or even tens of thousands of teams in it, you have to draft a pretty goddamn good team. But think about the type of team in a playoff format. You only need to finish in the top 2. So for 14 weeks, all you got to do is finish in the top 2. That team has to be good, but not that good. And then in weeks 15 and 16, it's did you just have some of the right guys in weeks 15? And of course, in week 17, obviously. Whoa, Fields. Holy hell. That's a team right there next to me. We'll do a Buka. Ashton Gent, shout out to Zabo SoCal or Zab SoCal. I had a high school buddy. His last name was Zabo that apparently ingrained in my brain. Ashton Genty, Garrett Wilson, Kyron Williams, Ken Walker, DeAndre Swift, and Justin Fields. That, my friends, is a robust start there. I think Dwayne thinks that pod luck is a huge part of it. I'm with you, Dwayne. Maybe not 4 times. Although did you type it 4 times? Because in round 1, pod luck is a part, and then 2, and then 3, and then that's 4. There's 4 pod luck stages. So maybe that was intentional. I'm not a fan of cumulative scoring. I'll take my pod luck and hit a ton of time box stuff and do around 15. Yeah, do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever you enjoy the most. I like them all. So whatever you enjoy, by all means. This is not me saying. I don't think anyone should ever say like this format is better. I think we all have different preferences of what kind of format. If you wanted to ask me my absolute favorite like best ball format to play ever, is the straight traditional, no regular season prizes, like whatever the very first Best Ball Mania was, right? 2 out of 12 advance in the first round, week 15 random pod, week 16 random pod, all the money gets paid out in week 17. That's my favorite. It's the most fun sweat. I enjoy the strategy around the late season being so important. I love that. But I've grown to love all these different games. I just maxed the Eliminator yesterday. I love the Superflex contest. I think that what you'll find is there's a ton of different stuff, like different levers we can pull in all these different tournaments. Like we're walking through all the news and stuff today. Some of it is not relevant at all for like this tournament, and some of it's extremely relevant for this turn, right? Like the Chris Godwin news is different based on Best Ball Mania or this tournament. You still want to play the hits. You still want to, as we mentioned, draft the best players, but how you sort of pinpoint those best players is very different based upon the format that you're drafting in. And so I enjoy kind of the different approaches and just thinking about strategy a little bit differently for each one of the games. Yep. Eliminator. Super fun. Super fun. Cumulative scoring is less of a fun sweat. I think it can be for sure, right? It's like if you have teams in the mix, it's very fun every week. Like it's a very fun sweat if you have teams just like even hovering in the mix. But if you reach like week 13 and you don't have any good, then there is no sweat anymore. It's not very fun. All right. This is a sharp draft room, and I don't like it. We'll do Keon. We started Hurts. I'll read it in order. Pulled up Drake London, AJ Brown, stacked AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, TreVeyon Henderson because it's TreVeyon season, Jalen Waddle, Emeka Buka, Keon Coleman. This is a tough room. This is a tough room. I considered to try to do the Kelsey and Mahomes thing, and I'm very happy that I didn't. As my robust running back buddy here to my right is, interesting team. I see the Elim comments, and I'll hit them in just a second once I make this round 8 selection. Yeah, man. I'm gonna buy the Jaden Reed dip for sure. One thing I do like to do is buy the dips on certain guys. So like Emeka Buka used to go in the 80s over here, right? Keon Coleman used to go like pick 100. So if I'm pulling guy, TreVeyon Henderson used to go cheaper. When you start to pull guys up, being aware that the guy was cheaper in past teams doesn't mean you can't draft them. I think we wait all summer to get information, and then once we get it in August, we should act on it. But then also thinking about, well, is there a faller that you're interested, right? Jaden. So now let's buy the Jaden Reed dip. Let's maybe buy the dip on someone else later, because then you kind of start to counteract the fact that you bought some of these guys who are maybe a little bit pricier than before. Also doing something like a London AJ Brown start, which is inherently extremely unique. Let me actually look that up really quick. Let's see if I go to, which you can do. Another thing that I love about drafters is if you use our tournament DB, you go over to tournament DB and you, I like to use the draft board because it's the easiest to view, right? And I punch in Drake London. They have real-time data out there so you can see the drafts that certain combinations of players. In fact, you can also just go look at the lineups as well. But so on Drake London teams, only 1% of Drake London teams have AJ Brown. So from like that point forward, right, and then only 4% have Jalen Hurts. So like immediately, who really cares, about what you do the rest of the way? You've created a unique start. Obviously, TreVeyon's on a decent chunk of those. Ibuka down here at 8%. But there's only 1% of teams with AJ Brown and Drake London. So once you've created that start, don't worry too much about, buying a TreVeyon rise, buying an Ibuka rise, buying a Pearsall rise or whatever. But if I'm just like, if I'm out of the 101 or something and I just like, no offense to bruh, it's fine here. I think he's trying to recover a little bit, but this is like, there's a lot of team, right? Bucky plus Jamar Chase is the most popular start. Bucky plus Jamar Chase plus T. Higgins is really, really popular. So once you do something like that, then if you're also going to buy some risers, like Tony Pollard was a riser, you're going to buy some risers, it becomes a little tricky. Oh, nice. Got a big eliminator live. Zeus says, I'll be dabbling over there. Mr. Nick, is the drafters promo code when you make the account or when you deposit? Deposit, I believe. Deposit. It's been 6 years or whatever since I set up my account, so I'm not positive. I'm not positive on that. Is a giga stack Hurts, AJ Brown, Saquon, for example, bad idea? Not like drafters main event. 1 second. Because I'm going to take Tyler Warren on this team. I like to take, like, speaking of our swings, right? Drafting dusty vets type stuff. It would be easy when you don't have an early tight end to say, well, let's just draft, Hunter Henry and whatever. These, Jake Ferguson and Hunter Henry. And I'm not saying those guys are bad picks, but I like to Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, Kincaid, even Loveland, right? Take some swing. Harold Fannin, take some swings at tight end. I think Chig is an interesting late swing. Rookie, taking some swings at tight end to try to find this year's Brock Bowers, this year's Jordan Reed, this year's whatever. Take some swings on upside instead of just kind of trying to bank floor plays at tight end, because if we've learned anything about the tight end position, it's that floor plays just like really don't exist. So I'm going to take Tucker Kraft here. I would love to stick to just 2 tight ends, Tyler Warren and Tucker Kraft. Gives me outs to Jordan Love and, of course, Anthony Richardson much later if Jordan Love makes it back. If not, oh well. But obviously have the Kraft and Reed potential double stack with Jordan Love. So we'll see if he makes it back. But in terms of a onslaught, a mega stack, whatever we want to call it, like Ryan asked about on drafters, I think it's very good, but 2 caveats to it. How often are other people doing it? Right? So the Bengals one is one that people love. It's very, very popular. So if people are doing it all the time, right? If an overwhelming number of Jamar Chase teams are also Bengals like mega stacks, I kind of want to steer away from it. And then also combined with that is when they're really expensive, when I have to spend all of my top picks to get that mega stack, I love, right? So like this Packers thing, like if Josh Jacobs were on here, or whether he is or isn't, like I love like onslaughting an offense, but further down the board. So the best example that was just an absolute home run last year to do it with on drafters was the Bucks. So like, that's not your Eagles. That's not your, the 49ers used to have all the 49ers went in the first couple of rounds. The Lions, like it's actually what you want to do it with on drafters, in my opinion, is the breakout offense. Because when you want the offense that's priced, it doesn't have to be the cheapest offense, but you want the offense that's priced a little more cheaply, because when they shoot up to be a top 5 offense, you're getting a top 5 offense for cheaper. If you had to pay for it, Saquon has to do what Saquon did last year. AJ Brown needs to be better. And how is AJ Brown better if Saquon is the same, right? Jalen Hurts, how is Jalen Hurts going to be better or even remain the same if all that's when it's all very expensive and other people are doing it. I want to try to find the next Bucks. Remember when Geno took over for Russ in Seattle? It was like, oh, okay, can't draft Seattle now. And like Geno was much better than we thought, so they were awesome clicks. Stuff like that. Finding the kind of cheaper offenses to bet on is how I like to think about it on draft. I mean, I like that in all formats, but on drafters, I think it's like really super powerful. Roheen likes the Panthers and the Patriots. I agree. Yeah, Zeus says find Baker when he's a 14th round pick instead of when he's an 8th round pick. And I like Baker just fine. But again, in terms of like what's a great path to win the tournament, it's kind of the cheaper. Did Love go? Yeah, of course. All right. Backstack, Herbert, Stroud, Ray Davis, Sampson. I actually don't hate the idea of double tapping the Patriots running backs here. I mean, I love TreVeyon, but I don't hate the idea of like Ramondre is going to play. Ramondre is going to play plenty. Just buy that. Warehouse says 111 Dante Thornton. Yeah, this guy. Hey, it's go get your guys season, and Zab SoCal is going and getting his guys, brother. Pittman, Kirk, Dante Thornton. That's a unique team. I respect it. I respect anyone that goes and gets their guys quite like that. Pat Bryant. Good Lord. All right, let's look at running back really quick. Did I take a quarterback and then? Oh yeah, duh. What a dumb I am. We take Michael Penix, closeout quarterback. Obviously, Penix stacked with London, Hurts stacked with AJB, Warren Kraft got a little secondary, Packer stack, Coleman, Abuka. I like it. Good team. Gonna have to hammer some running backs, but we'll be led by the Patriots backfield. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Seahawks also a great candidate. I totally agree. There's a lot of good candidates. Somebody mentioned the Panthers, definitely. The Seahawks, definitely. Speaking of the eliminator, Henny and Penny says, "Are you good at flipping coins?" I'm a noted coin flip heads or tails expert. Subscribe to my Patreon to get advice on winning coin flips. Let's see. Thank you, Benny. He said there's a promo code line to enter every time you deposit. Yep, that's right. You right. I understand uniqueness. However, doing it early kills your CLV. Are we galaxy branding too hard? No, I would say we're not galaxy branding enough. Why the fuck do I care about CLV? Like CLV of early round picks? If they're not drafted together, they're not drafted together. I don't care about that. I don't care about the CLV of Drake London. It's a couple picks, one way or the other. I care about how often. I care about what my Drake London teams look like. I don't care if they are. I don't care. Like, think about the first round, right? It's like they're all drafted together and in the same order. What we care about is exploiting our opponents to try to finish first. CLV doesn't inherently win me anything. CLV is an indicator, typically further down the draft board, of getting a guy before the market realizes that they're actually should be valued more highly. But like the first round just like doesn't really like move around and stuff like that. The reason why we care about things like CLV is because of the combinations of players that we get. Right? Why do we care about ADP value? Why do we care about CLV and stuff? It's because it allows us to get combinations of players that our opponents aren't getting. And so in the first round, CLV is just like not really a thing that matters. The reason why it matters is because of the combinations of players. So if I'm manufacturing a unique combo, I'm achieving the same thing that CLV is achieving, but I'm doing it myself as opposed to hoping that it falls my way over the course of the summer. That's great. Okay, I do need to lock in a little bit here because This is a tough scene for the old Trey Harris off the board. I'm trying to decide at what price is my main man Tyjae a good buy, because this is gross. Let's actually do this. Oh no. Oh no. I accidentally clicked something on my keyboard. Okay. Go get your guys. Tor Harden. I'm in a flat range of running back, like a really flat range of running back. And I do wonder, I might take Tyjae if he comes back to me here. We'll see if he does. Because then I'm just going to hammer running backs. Like pretty much the rest of the way. And so, since I'm just in a, like, what's the difference between all of these? Like injured guys. Like, look at this. Tyjae, Ford just got dinged because of Judkins. And there goes Tyjae, of course. I should have taken him. Ford gets dinged because of Judkins. Garendo's hurt. Rashad White is hurt. Eckler is just, no thank you. Najee, Chubb, Krusky Merritt, whatever. But then, like, okay, Jalen Wright, Shipley, right? Then we start to get into the guys that I do quite like. So if I'm in this pocket where there's not really a running back that I particularly like until multiple rounds later, pull somebody up. Don't take someone you don't like just because they're listed in a certain ADP order. Go get your guys. I do wonder if I should dabble in a little bit of Jalen McMillan in the hopes that Godwin, does land on the PP. Let's do that. And then we're going to hammer 6 straight running backs to close here, to close this draft. That's great. Erik, every draft you restore my faith in zero RB. I do it 90% of my drafts, but even I would have chickened out by now on running backs. When you get enough reps in, you start to become immune to the fear of the running back stuff. I also think one of the biggest hurdles to get over as a drafter is the sort of idea of what I need in a draft versus what the room is giving me in a draft, and not just the room, but what the market is giving me. I think people it's been multiple years, but Corain said years ago, I believe on Ship Chasing, Pat Corain, of course, of Legendary Upside and Ship Chasing and everything, said the room doesn't give a fuck what your team needs, right? And I think about that, the room also meaning like the fantasy market. And so that's where I was in that pocket, in this little pocket of the draft right here. Like Trey Benson's fine. Like I do like Dylan Sampson and Tyler, like, but these backs are fine. But I actually quite like a lot of these later running backs. I'm a big fan of these later running backs. I actually don't really think they're any different from the running backs in that range. Am I right about that? I don't know. We will see. But the room doesn't like, oh, you need a running back. Who cares? If the room is not giving it to you, like you gotta be able to. The market is something we don't talk about enough, and our assessment of the market. Of course, Moxie takes Sean Tucker, one of my guys, but assessing what's going on in the market is like one of the most, maybe the most important thing. Instead of, well, I need this at this pick spot. It's like, does it matter what you need? Or does it matter which guys you like and where they go in the draft? What also matters to me is the story that your team is telling. I took 4th round TreVeyon Henderson. I understand he's a rookie. I understand people like, aren't you worried? God damn it. My running backs are getting wiped out now. So this isn't going to go very well. But nonetheless, the idea, the stubborn idea that like a rookie running back like TreVeyon, who's like, oh, he's going to share work. So like, don't you need early season? Like, what if he's just a star, man? Why do we never think about the like Brock Bowers was a star from day one. These guys he was a top of the 2nd round pick. Jonathan Taylor was a superstar from day one. Why can't TreVeyon also be a superstar from day one? He says this and then takes Rico Dowdle. I know that's a lot of week 14 buys, but there's not going to be any more week 14 buys. I do quite like Rico Dowdle, actually. Bingo. Kareem. Why can TreVeyon not be like Kareem Hunt or Jonathan Taylor or something like that? Like, do the thing I've said a lot over the course of summer, because I'm a diehard Moneyball fan. I've written about Moneyball from a fantasy football and best ball perspective, of course, several different times. Kind of a running joke around here. But it's a quote from Brad Pitt in Moneyball where he says, "Do you believe in this thing or not?" And that's my take. And see, so now, sorry, Rashad, but I got to go get Kyle Monungai because I do got to get some upside swings. And I think Kyle Monungai is going to get to play early in the season. A good pick during a news show where Kyle Monungai continues to get news every single day. But it's like, do you believe in it or not, man? Like, do we believe? Like, do you believe in TreVeyon? You believe enough to chase him up into the 4th round? Then he better be fucking good. Okay, now he's good. What story does that tell in your lineup? Right? Okay, he's a superstar from day one. Doesn't that inform maybe how you draft a little bit differently now? So, great call. Great way. Simple but eloquent. Warehouse says it's tough to beat 140,000 teams when you play it safe. It's definitely sicko season, says Chris. Drew asked about Tua for a third. I don't draft 3 quarterbacks. Certainly not on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, Michael Penix. If those two ain't getting it done, if I need Tua's score at any point this season, like, so speaking of the story, think about the story of how could Tua take this team to the next level. My 1st round pick is stacked with his quarterback, and my 2nd round pick is stacked with his quarterback. And I also use a 3rd round pick on that quarterback. If those guys are failing enough that I need Tua score, Tua, who doesn't run, he's not going to run for touchdowns. He's not going to run for yards. It's all passing. I need his score. Like, I just want Jalen Waddle to get the stuff from the Dolphins, and I want Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix to be my guys putting up my quarterback scores, because I invested in that, right? This story that this team is telling is Drake London is a smash. He's a 1st round pick. AJ Brown is a smash, and Jalen Hurts paired with him are smashing. If Tua is coming into that conversation, this team went horribly wrong, right? This didn't go well. I'm not saying Tua could never outscore both of them. I'm saying I need to start hammering running backs, and filling out my wide receiver rooms, right? The quarterback has been taken care of. Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix take care of my quarterback scores for the whole season. If they don't, and if Tua is needed, on to the next team. That's why we draft 150. That's why I'm drafting 150, right? This is number 76. Maybe number 77 will be the winner. Like, your season is defined by your best team. Draft like you're right. Draft like that team. The story that team is telling is the one that plays out. Because if it doesn't, look, it's most likely not going to. And then you draft another team and you draft for that story. But you want to draft as though that story came true and build around what happens when it does. So speaking of one reason why I am more willing to push, I've mentioned that my belief, not saying it's right, saying my belief is that Dameon Pierce is going to be the starting running back for the Houston Texans to start the season. And so I'm willing to push running back a little bit more because I think I have that guy back here at the back end of the drafts that I can get. I understand. I took him over Nick Chubb. That's my stance. I've removed Nick Chubb from my rankings. See, but like this, you have Justin Fields and Patrick Mahomes. Sorry to our SoCal buddy, but like, at what point is Aaron Rodgers the difference maker? You have to beat 140,000 teams, and you need Aaron Rodgers' score when you drafted Justin Fields and Patrick Mahomes. Something went terribly, terribly wrong. Now the question. I'm on a Marshawn Lloyd kick. Let's do the Marshawn Lloyd thing. I got some Packers stuff going on. You saw him lighting up in this orange-ish color. Marshawn Lloyd just build out a little secondary Packers thing. That's another thing I like to do. We talked about onslaughting offenses on drafters and cumulative scoring, but like secondary stacking is what I would call it. So you don't have the quarterback. Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix are doing my stuff at quarterback, right? I need them over the course of the whole season. That's the story this team has told. That doesn't mean I can't benefit from other offenses being good, like the Packers. I can add Packers guys and just say Jordan Love is having a good season, and I'm going to benefit from Jordan Love having a good season by having his pass catchers, but I don't need Jordan Love's quarterback fantasy points. I got my quarterback fantasy points. Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix are scoring my quarterback fantasy points, right? Because they're also having good seasons. But then I can benefit from the good. And maybe Jordan Love is having an up and down season, but there's going to be some spikes in there. And I get that from Kraft and Jaden Reed and Marshawn Lloyd on this team, if that makes sense. Whenever Tua is my second quarterback, I always feel the need to draft a third. I understand that feeling, which tells you everything you need to know about Tua as a pick. And I'm not, if you like Tua more than I do, I get it. If you don't agree with what Quill was just saying about Tua, that's totally understandable. Those are just player takes. We're all going to disagree on some specific player takes. But but what I can say about that when you have that feeling, when I draft, right? If you draft Jalen Hurts and then you draft Tua and you're like, oh, I really think I need a third. I think Tua was get a different quarterback, right? It's like, if I think I really need to draft another guy. It's like, maybe that guy wasn't that good of a pick then, like if you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and you draft Tua and you have another good quarterback and you still feel the need to draft a third, I think that quarterback was just not a very good pick, right? You should have drafted a different quarterback. Exactly. Greg says he likes Tua more than most in that, and he agrees. That's the interesting part of the pocket passer stuff. Dogs are getting antsy. I will take Jarquez falling all the way back to me here. That would be sweet. Bingo. Henny says we can like the Miami pieces and not have Tua. That's what I feel. That's how I feel about the pocket, like most of the pocket passers. Hell yeah, Jarquez. See, the other sicko thing about me is now it's rough, but I like this running back room. I like this. Playing not to lose instead of to win has been a struggle in the past for me. It will kill your teams. I think it's a struggle for everybody. You want to shield because you see the flaws of the team that you draft, right? You're experiencing it. You're the one drafting it. And you're like, I feel uncomfortable about this. And what I would say is that's good. If you don't feel uncomfortable with something about a team, it probably sucks. You need to feel uncomfortable about something. I don't know what it is. We all we're all going to disagree about the specifics of the things that we're comfortable or uncomfortable about. Obviously, I have a broken brain and feel uncomfortable. Don't feel that uncomfortable about many things. I'm going to take Isaiah Davis here on this team. He's a guy who is going to play like on PPR sites in the last round. He came in for that. We talked about the Brees stuff and how like Brees looks really hurt, and Braylon is getting steamed up as he should. And I like Braylon a lot. Isaiah Davis came in for passing downs for the Jets. Like on third downs, Isaiah Davis was the running back on the field. So that could be interesting. I know it's Justin Fields from a check down perspective, but like just having a guy on a team like this that clearly needs some running back help, having a guy that's like going to get on the field and probably catch some passes at the back end, it's pretty interesting. There's still technically, I guess, a path to which Brees gets traded, and then Isaiah Davis is like a 10th round pick or something. So pretty fun. Sunny and Moneyball quotes on Spike Week. What's next? The Wire, Seinfeld, Sopranos, A Few Good Men. I usually do. Moneyball is the one serious thing that I will quote. I usually quote comedies because I mostly just watch comedies, but I do like most of those shows that you mentioned there. You will hear lots of quotes from me for sure. Before we get out of here, we got to give out our free tickets, which is what we're going to do next year. Quill says, do bye weeks matter as much on drafters since his cumulative scoring? Yes and no. I do think, I have made it known I don't care all that much about like overlapping buys, especially at, quarterback and tight end and stuff. Obviously, I have 3 different running backs on week 14 bye. I don't want to have like my whole backfield necessarily on bye, and I don't care so much about tight end overlapping buys. I don't love having the quarterbacks overlapping in terms of buys, but I don't monitor it too much. Though the Draft Hacker, if you have a subscription to Spike Week, the Draft Hacker will like highlight bye week issues for you. That's very helpful. So that's probably part of why I don't even think about it. All right, let's run down this team. We built this would be classified as what we called a Hawkeye running back build. It's not a true hero running back. It's not a zero running back because TreVeyon Henderson I took him in the 4th round. But this like a weak hero. And who's the weakest hero in the Marvel universe? None other than Hawkeye, because he's not even really a hero. He just has a fucking bow and arrow. And so a weak hero is TreVeyon Henderson on this team. But we have Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix at quarterback. TreVeyon, Ramondre Stevenson. We kind of bought the Patriots backfield, which I actually don't mind doing, especially on a team like this. Rico Dowdle, also playing passing downs for the Panthers, going to get to play. Having that passing down role, also nice in full PPR on a 0 running back team. Kyle Monungai, we talked about. Dameon Pierce, Marshawn Lloyd, Jarquez Hunter, Isaiah Davis. That's how sick and twisted, that I am, that I'm like, ooh, that looks good. I like that running back group. Drake London, AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Emeka Buka, Keon Coleman, Jaden Reed, Torrey Horton, and Jalen McMillan. So we got some secondary stacks, Bucks and Packers and all that such stuff going on around our Eagles and Falcons stack. Tyler Warren and Tucker Kraft at tight end. Quite fun. There you go. Black Widow. I'll still give the edge to Black Widow over Hawkeye. Let me get the wheel up here. I do gotta copy paste everybody's names into the wheel here. A lot of entries. And of course, if you would like to be entered to win next week, if you want to get your chance to win one of these 3 free tickets that we're just about to give away here to the Drafters main event. Of course, that's what we just drafted. The $20 Drafters main event. Our good friends over on Drafters are allowing me to give away 3 free tickets every Friday. All you have to do to be entered next week. So there'll be next week's video. Come watch next week, starting on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Drop a comment on one of those videos so you can be entered up to 4 times. 1 comment per video. You do not have to be here on Fridays to win. I'll spin the wheel. Come watch it afterwards, right? Watch it when you're freed up later tomorrow, this afternoon, or this weekend. Contact me. I'm available in Discord. Come join the Spike Week Discord. There's a link in the description. And you can shoot me a DM or tag me in Discord, and I will make sure that the folks at Drafters get you your free ticket. But let's go ahead and give out these tickets. Yeah, Marie, it's time for Marie's favorite weekly draw. She has won like seemingly every week. And Corey, I think Corey is a repeat winner. Shout out Corey. Corey, if you're here, if you're not, hit me up. You can hit me up wherever, right? Let's see. Let's remove and spin it again. Corey. Always got to remember to write these things down. Winner number 2. Oh my God. Excellent. I thought Marie was going to win. I believe that would have been Marie's fourth win. And I do think Corey and PacFan might have won previously as well. All right. Ticket number 3. Shout out PacFan. And Wydad wins, who is very also active in the Discord. Shout out to Corey, PacFan, and Wydad. Thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed the news recap, and of course the draft. If you're on your way out, make sure that you hit the like button and hit subscribe. Legendary Sickos will be back tomorrow. I am working on getting the latest edition of our mini-sodes in our 5-5-5 slow draft out today. But of course, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the preseason games, and I will catch you on Monday for the Best Ball Basement live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a good weekend, guys. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? If you turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.